Yes, many thanks for staying with us. You're welcome to the main interview of Newdawn right here on Ogun State Television at the Post Tele. Well, it's no news that the Apex Court has recognized that the Martin Amauli-led Rivers State House Assembly members as valid members, of the House, and the Supreme Court also directed the Accountant General of the Federation to stop releasing funds to Rivers State's government. But yesterday we heard that Governor Similai Fubara has invited the lawmakers for a meeting, perhaps a truce meeting, who knows. You will recall that yes, an ultimatum was given to him to represent the 2025 budget, and that ultimatum lapsed on Friday. So this morning, we're looking at the Rivers State political developments. Yes, let's put into perspective all that is happening. And we have joining us via Zoom this morning is Honorable Remi Azan, the former Deputy Speaker, Ogun State House of Assembly. Are you welcome to the show, Honorable?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning to the good people of Ogun State and all the global audience of this TV station. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Taiwo.
Yeah, Honorable, good morning to you. Let's start right away. The lawmakers, Rivers House of Assembly members, they've turned down the invite of the governor, and this is because of what they claim that they got the invite on the social media, that it should make it more direct to the lawmakers. What do you make out of this? What can you say about this crisis in Rivers State? And also, what do you envisage might happen to the governor? Because there's been talks of likely impeachment and all about what we've been witnessing. What do you make out of all this scenario?
All right, thank you very much. And let's just look at it from being someone who has experience in this aspect. The Rivers State House of Assembly crisis is not novel in any way, because we've had series of instances in Ogun State, in Plateau State, even as recently as Lagos State, where you have factions of people choosing one side of leadership and another side of leadership to align with and ward a view. Now, the peculiarity of that of Rivers State stems from the fact that there is a sharp divide between the incumbent governor and his political godfather, who happened to be the current minister for the Federal Capital Territory, talking about Barrister Ezenwo-Wike, who has decided to take the legal route into fighting the battle of supposed disloyalty. And that legal logjam has traveled so many roads until a few days ago, when the Supreme Court came up with this judgment that is neither here nor there. Though there are specifics that are implementable, and there are some aspects of the judgment too that are difficult to comprehend, which was why the governor mentioned that he needed to see the certified true copy before he could decide on what to do. But three things quickly. Politically, Rivers State is on the edge, and that is why the mention of impeachment is what is making everyone now to see crisis coming. You see the Joe National Congress, the Joe Youth Congress, and so many other ethnic nationalities queuing behind the governor and threatening fire and brimstone if impeachment should be the route of this battle that has lingered for so long. Then you have the political route, which of course has to do with which of the faction is actually illegally constituted House of Assembly. But because the Supreme Court specifically mentioned that the 2024 budget, which was prepared, approved by another faction, and money already spent, is now being asked to be presented to that House of Assembly as at the date that House of Assembly was still in the saddle. Makes it somehow more like an academic exercise, but it also has the undertone of conferring legality on that Martin Amewule-led House. There is a case pending in court, though, which has to do with the status of the Martin Amewule faction of the House of Assembly. And all of this will put you in a quagmire. Where really is Rivers State? Then, of course, you have the economic dimension to the crisis, which has to do with the order of the Supreme Court that the allocation to the state be stopped. That, to me, carries a lot of collateral damage, because both government and the governed are going to be the ones that will suffer from this decision. That doesn't mean that there can be a way out. For the Rivers State government, one of the easiest way out of this is to approach the same Supreme Court for some interpretation that can shed a lot more light on the situation. There is a Supreme Court precedent on Plateau State talking about the 6th House of Assembly, which were seen to be not so legal, but the Supreme Court said presenting a budget to them was not wrong at that time. Is Supreme Court now walking away from that precedent, or are we to take this one now as the new precedent? Because the Supreme Court also has the power to reverse itself. So all of these are the issues. Rivers State is no doubt on the edge, legally, politically, and economically.
Okay, but it appears the Supreme Court is clear on at least the recognition of the Martin Amewule-led, Rivers State House Assembly as legitimate one, and also directing the Account General of Federation to stop releasing funds to Rivers State government. Don't you think a political solution should be sought?
Now, there is no categorical statement on the status of the Martin Amewule-led House. Rather, what we have is a directive that the governor should present the budget to them. And that was the 2024 budget, which is already done and dusted, prepared, approved, and spent. And that is like asking to undo what is already done. However, because there was no mention of the status of the Martin Amewule-led House, that pronouncement that the budget be prepared and sent to them may now be inferred or interpreted to mean that they have been recognized. But like I said, there is still a court process going on concerning the status of those members, that is the 27 Martin Amewule-led House. Now, while this is going on, because there is already a lockdown, whether we like it or not, this is a cul-de-sac. The governor has reached a dead end. The Martin Amewule-led House, too, are not particularly safe, as it were. The whole of Rivers State is in one kind of crisis or the other. So you have rightly observed, a political solution is just the best way out of this quagmire. Otherwise, everybody will seem right until there is nothing to fight again.
Do you think it is a right call for the governor to call for a local government poll, because he has constituted the electoral commission for this poll, which the assembly has also summoned. And also last week we noticed that I think yesterday some of the members of the commission actually resigned based on the crisis. But do you think the governor should have, looking at the way forward, do you think the governor should have immediately constituted the Electoral Commission and call for a local government poll?
It is not the governor who State Independent Electoral Commission. So if the governor mentioned that he was going to supervise the conduct of another election, that is just for the mention. The right, authority, and institution to call for election is the State Independent Electoral Commission. Unless and until that agency of government
Okay, well, we are hoping to
at the state level is properly, I hope I'm audible enough.
Continue.
Yeah, continue.
Like I'm saying, I'm saying here that if the Electoral Commission is properly constituted, they are in a position to call for election. But if they are not properly constituted, that can leave a room for another litigation that may well void the election, because an illegally put in place body cannot validly conduct an election. And so there are too many sides to it, and it's all politics. At the end of the day, it will still boil down to what you mentioned earlier, a political solution.
Yeah, like you said, that the governor has reached a dead end, and it appears that right now he has to pacify the Amauli-led, Rivers State House Assembly members. But some also say, what about the wiki factor?
What about which factor?
Wiki factor.
When I was situating all of my presentation here, I said there are two principal gladiators concerning this matter. It is purely Wike and Fubara. And at the end of the day, you see everyone who has taken a position either queuing behind Wike or queuing behind Fubara. So a political solution without either is a non-starter. And anyone who seeks to midwife a solution that truly solves this problem must have the capacity to bring both gladiators to the table and find a means of ensuring that this is done. Imagine that the Supreme Court judgment on local government funds, for example, was that funds should go to councils directly. But up till date, there hasn't been the I's properly dotted and the T's properly crossed as to make that order of the Supreme Court complied with. So we still have a situation today where federal government still sends monies to the state for the various local government. That's a political solution until they are able to tidy up the loose ends. So if you have a seemingly unimplementable order of courts like this, a political solution is not also out of place as long as the court is not disobeyed in the circumstance.
Let's look at the place of godfatherism. It has actually helped some in advancing their government, and it has also caused crises that we are seeing in Rivers. How do you place this? Looking at the place of godfathers in politics, do you think this should further be encouraged, looking at what is happening in Rivers State, or do you think the idea of godfatherism should actually be buried?
Now, the common denominator for all categories of godfatherism should be patriotism. A patriotic godfather will seek the interest of a greater good, a greater number. Now, godfatherism will always be there. And in all societies, all spheres of life, you have them. In professional circles, we call them gatekeepers. And in other places, you call them power brokers. Whatever name you call them, it is still godfatherism that we're talking about. But where godfatherism lacks the important ingredient of patriotism, then it is going to be an ill wind that blows nobody no good except for the godfather and his acolytes. Therefore, as long as a godfather who is also a product of the political process carries in him what it takes to be truly, truly patriotic, I don't see anything wrong with godfatherism. It has really helped the process in some places. Lagos, for example, is a very good case in point where godfatherism has truly turned things around, and Lagos is a model for most other states. But in some other places, godfatherism has messed up things worse than they were met by those who are now in the saddle. So if there is a constance of patriotism, there is nothing wrong with godfatherism. But where a godfather is not patriotic, there is no point. Such should be asked to leave the stage, and those who truly are patriotic should take charge.
Yeah. When two elephants fight, the grass suffers, and the grass in this context would definitely be the people. What role can the federal government play in all of this? Though the president intervened at some points, tabled some conditions, some of these conditions didn't favor Governor Fubara. But at this point now, what do you think the federal government should do?
No, like I mentioned in the course of this conversation, anybody who wants to broker peace must carry the status of someone who can influence both parties. If you don't belong to that kind of cadre or category, you can't even call for a meeting, let alone be able to achieve any form of peace. I mentioned also that the directive of the Supreme Court that the allocation of the state be stopped is going to have a collateral consequence on the Rivers people. And that is the grass that suffers from the two elephants, Wike and Fubara, that are currently fighting. I also know that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has intervened before, and it didn't particularly turn out well. But the father should not be tired of bringing his children to peace. So it won't be out of place if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu decide once again to step in and bring this whole logjam into a calm situation so that everyone can go about their lawful duties accordingly. So it still goes back to the federal government led by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do something about this and save the situation from descending into anarchy.
What, in specific terms, what do you think the president should do? If you are in the position, what will you do? Or what are the suggestions, what are the directives will you give to ensure a peace reign in Rivers State?
Ultimately, there will have to be power sharing. Nobody can leave the table of any of this kind of intervention wanting to have all of what he wants at the table. For instance, I don't know how many local governments now, 23 or so, that are in Rivers, will have to be shared. Some of Wike's loyalists will be given some of the local government, and some of Fubara's loyalists will be given. The cabinet too, some Wike's loyalists will be made commissioners, and some will be made that are Fubara's loyalists. Just find a way to share this power across the board. When you get that done, it now makes a sense of belonging to feel the atmosphere. And at that point, it simply then means that even in 2027, nobody will still be left behind. Because any sense that some people are going to be losers in the game of 2027 is the reason why these
Well, we could really hear that. I think we lost no connection at some point. Okay, I think you are back. He's back now. Well, I just wanted to ask that politically, how precarious is this situation for Fubara? Because like you said, that there should be some sort of power sharing. But you see, those in Wiki's camp are likely to show loyalty to Wiki, instead of the governor.
No, the truth is this. A godfather that is patriotic, like I mentioned earlier, will not be so much concerned about who is the loyalty in government being channeled towards, but rather will be interested in the good of the state. If, for example, Fubara's loyalty is towards Wiki, now whether any of the appointees or those that are in the House of Assembly or those that are chairmen of local government are loyal to Fubara or not will be immaterial as long as Wiki gets the loyalty of Fubara, and then it trickles down that way. So it's for the whole thing to be restructured. But it's going to be very, very difficult, but it's not impossible.
Looking at the issue of, we talked about the issue of possible call for impeachment of the governor. Just like you mentioned, this might not be the biggest political solution, but that the main thing that should be done right now is to find a solution to this matter. But do you think this talk of impeachment, do you see the possibility? Do you see a situation where Rivers might get to that, the assembly members might get to the stage where before the end of this year, before the mid of this year, that this possibility might arise that they will just go ahead and say it is now that we want him to go. Do you see this happening if all what you have mentioned does not work out in earnest?
The process of impeachment, according to Section 101 downward, is quite cumbersome. And the governor holds the ace in this. There is the dimension of the chief judge. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, very.
There is a dimension of the chief judge whom we had has gone on vacation. And if you know that the power to appoint even an acting chief judge is the exclusive power of the governor. That is on one side. And now when you finally get to the level where you prepare the articles of impeachment and you send them to the governor and he responds, the committee that will look into the governor's response is the one that is set up by the chief judge of the state. And the Constitution says whatever that committee rules is final on the matter. And if they rule that he's not guilty, that's the end of the whole thing. And now the process is going to meet with a kind of a brick wall. Now, the House of Assembly doesn't even have a chamber where it can sit now. They're currently managing a place in Government House. Where the Wike group is also sitting is not a government accredited place. And the Supreme Court ruling on such is that you can't sit outside of a government gazetted accredited location. So when you have all of this, it becomes quite cumbersome and difficult to bring impeachment into reality. And when you have that kind of a challenge, that means that even for those who are trying to consider the option of impeachment, it's also a cul-de-sac. And at the end of the day, it's back to square one, except you want to do the one that is illegal. And that is, of course, where the agitators, the Avengers, the Niger Delta Volunteers, the Joy Youth Council, the General National Congress are all threatening fire and brimstone. And all of this is just going to put Rivers State on the spotlight. That is the treasure base of Nigerian nation. And we can't afford to have another distortion in our national oil revenue drive, where we have been able to minimally optimize things for now. So I think it is not a route that the legislator should even consider, because it's going to be an ill wind that blows nobody no good.
Okay, many thanks, Honorable Remi Azan. You say it's truly a log jam, but we'll continue to monitor. And one thing you've established is a political solution should be sought. And let's see if the governor would survive this. So thanks so much for joining us, Honorable Remi Azan.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, yeah, we've looked at Rivers State's political development. We'll be back shortly for another discussion. Please stay with us.